If you're starting any kind of photography career in 2025, it's important to have the right tools for the job. Now, obviously every job is a little bit different, but in this video, I want to go over a few pieces of essential gear that I truly can't live without. My name is Evan, aka Flash Focused. I am a rock climbing, specifically bouldering competition photographer. I like to shoot a lot of different sports, and on this YouTube channel, I like to share my experiences with sports photography and hopefully help you improve your own photography along the way. All right, let's get into it. So what do you truly need to be a photographer? Well, first and foremost, you need a camera, and that much should be obvious. Now, when people are talking about cameras, they're usually talking about camera bodies. These are camera bodies with detachable lenses. Now, the vast majority of professionals nowadays are using mirrorless cameras, both for their size and their quality of output. So if you're getting into photography for the first time and looking for your first camera body, I'd highly recommend doing your research on mirrorless bodies from different major brands like Sony, Canon, Nikon, etc. The next and arguably most important part of your kit is making sure you have quality glass, aka lenses. When it comes to purchasing lenses, especially full frame lenses, the price tags can honestly be a little bit intimidating. So my best piece of advice for a new photographer who's trying to build out their kit and looking at different lenses and kind of getting a bit of decision paralysis, really take into consideration the needs of the type of photography you plan to be doing. If you're a sports photographer, think about the type of sport you're shooting, and if you're really stumped on what kind of lenses and focal lengths to use for your own needs, look at other photographers and industry professionals who do the same type of photography as you and see what they use. So once you've really considered your own needs and have an idea for what kind of focal lengths and apertures you're looking for, I would highly recommend investing in yourself and making sure you pick up one kind of workhorse lens. So when I say workhorse lens, what I really mean is the one lens that you keep basically glued to your camera body. It's a lens that you know you'll be using all the time because it's something that is not only the nicest lens in your kit, but also something you've researched to know it fits the needs of your own photography. Don't cater your workhorse lens towards your personal projects or the things you enjoy doing in your free time. Rather, think about the client projects you plan to get and you're already getting, and think about how you can reinvest in yourself and your own business using that workhorse lens to make higher quality product for your clients. So for me, as someone that was interested in sports photography and specifically climbing photography, I wanted to invest in myself when it came to a telephoto lens and make sure I had that 70 to 200 range down pat. So my workhorse lens of choice is the Sony 70 to 200 f2.8. It's an incredible lens. I've talked about it a bunch on this channel already. I still have yet to make a dedicated review, but that is coming. You do still need to develop a thorough kit of focal lengths and make sure you have lenses for all types of projects, things like ultra wides or ultra zooms, things like portrait lenses, primes. These things can be really nice complementary pieces to your kit, and you can start experimenting with them as you work with your workhorse and get used to that workflow. So let's talk about the next piece of gear that I think a lot of newer photographers honestly completely neglect, and that is high quality memory and storage. When we're talking about memory and storage, we're talking about things like your SD cards that fit in your camera, or sometimes with newer cameras, it's things like a CF Express type A or B card. So when it comes to memory cards, you're looking for reliable, you're looking for fast, and you're looking for as large as you can afford. When we're talking about reliability, oftentimes we're talking about name brand cards like Sony or ProGrade or Lexar. These are names that have been in the industry for a long time when it comes to creating memory cards, so you can trust that the products that they're putting out are worth the value that you're paying for them. But still, if you're planning on shooting any kind of burst photography, make sure to look at the read and write speed of whatever SD card or CF Express card you plan on buying. Ideally, it's at least 300 megabytes per second as kind of a standard or a starting point to ensure that you don't really get much buffering even when you're shooting at the full speed of your camera's capabilities. I recently upgraded from the Sony a7 III, which uses SD cards, to the Sony a7 IV, which allows me to use a much faster CF Express Type A card, and the result is basically lossless bursts. I can shoot these amazing bursts in competition of dynos and not have to worry that by the end of it, I'll have a lag on my camera and I won't be able to shoot the moment right after. So I'd highly recommend investing in the fastest possible memory cards you can get for your own camera. And talking about fast memory and fast storage, I'd recommend any kind of external SSD from, again, a name brand like Samsung is a great place to start for storage of your raw files. It's not necessarily the most budget-friendly solution, but they're super reliable because they don't have any internal moving parts, so you'd have to really put the thing through the ringer for it to actually fail. Not to say that I'll be responsible if it does fail on you, but I've never had one of these things seriously go wrong, so I would highly recommend using external SSDs, especially the Samsung ones. The next essential piece of gear I think any new photographer should invest in is a high-quality laptop. What a lot of photographers won't tell you is that culling your files, picking the selects, choosing the best images from a large batch is honestly one of the largest and most time-consuming parts of the photography process. So if you are interested in reducing that process and reducing your headaches, I would highly recommend investing in a nice quality laptop. A high quality laptop can run any kind of culling program or photo editing program that you need at the same time, and you won't have to deal with any issues like lagging or overheating or anything. So I'm using a MacBook with an M2 chip. It's only the 14-inch, but I would highly recommend using something similar if you're interested in getting into photography and you're starting to use cameras that might have larger file sizes. So you might be asking yourself, why a laptop and why not a desktop, or invest in a nice PC or a nice Mac editing setup at home? Honestly, it's up to your needs, but laptops nowadays have become incredible brains that you can turn into a home desktop setup when you are at home. But for the purpose of event photographers like myself, it's extremely helpful to be able to take your own editing setup on the go. And a laptop is an extremely powerful tool for being able to do that. Okay, so this next one might be a little bit controversial because not every photographer deems these to be an essential piece of gear. In fact, some photographers prefer not to use them at all. But I think if you're a professional photographer, you should certainly have a high quality camera strap. You might be asking yourself, what makes a camera strap worth more money? What makes it worth more than the one that comes in just the kit? Now, I can only speak to my experience, but personally, when I use the camera strap from the original kit for extended periods of time, and especially if I'm sweating, I tend to get some rash marks from moving it around a lot. So I chose to invest in myself a little bit, and I purchased this Peak Design Slide Light, I think is what it's called. It's the larger size, and it made a huge difference in terms of just ergonomics. Just in general, I was never really a camera strap person until I purchased this, and I found that this camera strap made a huge difference in my quality of life as a professional photographer. So I'd highly recommend investing in a nice replacement for that not so nice camera strap that comes in the original kit. Okay, so this next one is a piece of gear that I truly cannot live without. It's become essential to my photography process, and that is a good pair of headphones. I'll usually have over-ear headphones for time periods where I'm either trying to cancel out noise, or if I'm trying to photo edit and I really want the high quality music while I do so, I need these over-ear headphones. I recently invested in these Sony XM4s. I truly love these things, and they become an essential piece in my kit that I genuinely can't leave the house without. Now, I should caution, I'm not suggesting you wear headphones in situations where a client might be trying to talk to you, or you might need to hear your surroundings. It's important to consider when and where to wear headphones. I'm just saying they've become an essential piece in my kit. Okay, so this next one is an essential you might already own. In fact, you might be holding on to it while you're watching this video, and that is a high quality smartphone. Now you might be thinking, obviously it's 2025, everyone needs a phone. But specifically for photographers, Instagram and social media platforms where you build your clientele and show off your work have become largely video-centric platforms. So if you're planning on showing your photos, you have to often show them in a video format. So get yourself something like an iPhone 13 or something of a newer generation where you have a 0.5 camera so you can get that wide angle. You can use it to show off your photos. Obviously, it sucks that you have to show them off in a video format if you're not a videographer. Using the footage from your iPhone is a nice solution as a middle ground for photographers who don't really like creating video for the platforms they like to promote themselves on. And secondary to that, if you don't like shooting on an iPhone, one of the most powerful tools for showing off your photography I've found is a high quality behind the scenes camera. For a BTS camera, oftentimes people, if they're not choosing to use their iPhone, will use something like an action cam. And there's tons of different action cam options out now from DJI, Insta360, and GoPro, and different companies like that. So I'd highly recommend, if you have the budget for it and you're a working professional looking to get some more BTS of your own work. Obviously, the ideal is to hire a BTS shooter, but second to that, pick yourself up an action cam, slap it on the top of your camera, and watch it do some magic. And the last thing I want to mention that genuinely I believe to be an essential for any professional working photographer is making sure you have a backup camera. That's not to say your backup camera has to be the same generation or even close to the same quality as your main camera. It could be an iPhone, as long as you have a newer generation iPhone that can shoot raw photos and give you some editing flexibility. But it is important to make sure you always have a backup option as a professional, because cameras are still just pieces of tech at the end of the day, and they are prone to failures, so you don't want to be caught off guard with nothing to shoot people's photos with. So any event you show up to, ideally you show up with a backup camera. In my opinion, a backup camera is essential to any professional working photographer. Now there's so many other things I could talk about in this video, like personal branding tools, business cards, watches for keeping track of the time, filters, different external lighting options, but at the end of the day, these things that I've mentioned are the things that I deem to be essential to even a new working professional photographer. So if you're somebody that feels like you're a little bit overwhelmed by the process of building a kit for professional photography and setting yourself up to work with clients, I'd say take into consideration a few of the things that I listed in this video, and you'll be just fine. So push past that imposter syndrome today, go invest in yourself, and shoot something really incredible. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you got some value out of it. If you did, make sure to like and subscribe for the next video. And if you feel like there's an essential piece of gear that I might not have mentioned, leave a comment and let me know. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.